Why did Donald Trump partly fold on his border policy this week? That's a big question kicking around, and it probably wasn't about a future election or elected officials meeting with him. It wasn't about his tormentors on other stories like Michael Avenatti or Bob Mueller. It was largely because of this human impact. What we know Trump's orders did were exposed. Journalists and citizens, of course, documenting children suffering. There was the audio leaking of children crying, the world seeing and hearing it. Also, there were legislators who didn't stay in Washington. They went out to confront the secrecy at these detention centers. Plus, this video from far beyond the border, like children being brought to a foster agency in the middle of the night in New York, where now the mayor says the Trump administration got busted and was trying to operate in secret.
What is happening here? How is it possible that none of us knew there were 239 kids right here in our own city? How is the federal government holding back that information from the people of this city?
The administration also hiding the whereabouts of one of the children who has become the face of this policy. You see her there. You've probably seen the photo on the cover of the New Time. Now, journalists have been pressing this administration about where she is, and they've been getting stonewalled. Now, some policies are hotly debated even when people know all the facts. This isn't one of them. When people see what Trump's order does, the pictures and the harm and the facts, we know most people oppose it. So the good news may be that getting the facts out can help. The bad news is this administration continues to deploy secrecy and lies to keep hiding this policy from the public. I'm joined now by Melissa Mark Viverito, a senior advisor to the Latino Victory Fund and a former speaker of New York City Council. She came back from the border where she was organizing protests outside one of these camps. Also joining me, MSNBC contributor Sam Seder. Sam, as a student of politics and the media side of this, your view of why a Trump approach that clearly worked sometimes during the campaign and may have worked on other issues, the combination of blatant and repetitive lying plus abusing power to create secrecy around that, which is embarrassing. Why did that fail here?
Well, I mean, I think it was just because people were incredibly persistent about it. But this, I mean, this type of lying is, I think, is pretty unique. I mean, we've seen instances where the government lies, and ostensibly it's because of national security reasons, and maybe those claims are dubious or they're not dubious. They're judged on those merits. But in this instance, this is, I mean, this is, I think, pretty unprecedented, where you have an agency lying to airlines and telling them that they're bringing on soccer teams, and you have kids snuck around it in the middle of the night. I mean, this is really disturbing stuff. I mean, I realize it's, you know, it's second or third order when we're talking about the harm that's actually being done to these children. But when you start to look at the questions of authoritarianism and sort of fascistic mechanisms, it's this stuff that is, I think, really, really disturbing, where an agency feels like they can unilaterally lie to civilians for no justifiable reason other than they just don't want the citizenry to know what they're doing.
Melissa, speak to that point, both some of the organizing you've been involved with and also, Sam, noting that the airlines and other entities, which we don't think of as leaving any kind of radical civil rights efforts per se, have stepped up relatively quickly based on what? Based on the fact that the public was informed about what was happening.
Well, let me just say one thing very clearly. These children are disappeared. They're desaparecidos. They're, you know, to their families. We don't know where they are. They're traumatized, as the prior guest had said. Now they're here in New York City and across other states. And we got to figure out ways that we can lend support and make sure that these kids get the proper attention. I would hope, and if I could be vetted quickly enough, I would like to house one of these children. And I think we need compassionate people that are going to be able to embrace these children and do everything that they can to help them be reunited with their families. But it is the persistence and the perseverance of those who are appalled by us losing our democracy, and that this Republican.
And I hear you on all of that. I think those are very important points. What about the topic at hand?
No, the issue of the secrecy. Well, that's what the issue is about exposure and about being appalled at what is happening, and that people are digging. You have reporters. What happened here in New York, where you had reporters that were digging and were trying to find out the information on their own, and were able to expose it. And the people that are out there at rallies at JFK that are doing candlelight vigils in front of the organization that is trying to get these children paired up with custodians or extended family. That level of kind of accountability that is coming from the people that is saying that we are not going to allow you to try to do this in the dark of night, and that we're not going to allow you to separate these families. That level of accountability cannot waver and cannot wane with the signing of this so-called executive order, which really isn't doing much to change the policy. So we cannot waver in that resistance, because that is, to some extent, what is keeping things in check right now. And that is all we have at this point, it seems, because Congress is not doing what it needs to do. And this administration keeps blurring the line and seeing how much further along they can take to really appeal to that nativist base. And that's really just something we cannot allow to continue to happen.
And Sam, there are reports that some Trump loyalists say, oh, well, the materials are faked, even the pictures that were supplied by the Trump administration, and yet that fake news style rebuttal not working as well either here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Jeff Sessions was on CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network, today, claiming that they never intended to separate the children from the parents, which, of course, is a total lie. He's literally on record almost chuckling as he's talking about this as a deterrent. So they clearly got a lot of pushback, and I think, you know, the pressure went from the citizenry to Republican lawmakers. And I think when Republican lawmakers started saying, like, hey, we're getting crushed here, you've got to save us, that's when we saw this reversal. But I just want to also say, in terms of the resistance, you know, when people make, when people, it's one of those situations where it's like, if you see something, say something. You know, the smallest type of pushback can metastasize in a positive way, I should say, and you get things like the airlines being sensitive to this. Like you say, these are not radical organizations, they're airlines. But as employees say, like, I have a problem with this, that small interaction can aggregate, and you start to see these things break apart. And I think this is a very important thing for the citizenry to really pick up on.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.